Hi, welcome to Life Skills with Louie. Today we are talking about responding to events with connecting to calm and problem solving. If you haven't watched the introduction to the Getting to Great set of skills, there's two introductions, one about mapping your experience and one about responding to different aspects of your experience. I encourage you to watch both of those to get a sense of how this is all working together, because this is a little bit of a more complicated section. And then if you haven't watched the introduction to the entire series, Life Skills with Louie, please watch that to understand the 5 sections and how they all work together. So today we're talking about responding to events as we map out our experience. I've talked about teasing it apart and seeing that there's many different aspects of our experience, one of which is the events that happen to us. And for responding to events, there are 2 ways to respond, and they kind of go together. We respond to events that happen to us, actions that are taken towards us, or things from the outside that affect us, with connecting to calm and problem solving. So the first thing to say is that remember the connecting to calm skills, because if an event happens to you, it can really jar your system. And so taking the time to soothe yourself enough so that you can think clearly, especially if you get to a skills breakdown point where you're having trouble thinking, doing connecting to calm skills is critical. And then the next thing to work towards is practicing problem solving. So problem solving is a skill that comes directly from dialectical behavioral therapy, DBT. That's where I learned it. I am pretty sure they didn't create it in the first place, but they have a nice format for it. There's a set of handouts and worksheets from which this information mostly comes, and that's a great thing to have. The dialectical behavioral therapy handouts and worksheets by Marsha Linehan. And this comes from there. It's Emotion Regulation Handout 12, if you have that book. So there's a few steps to problem solving. And the idea with this is that if something's happening to you and you can solve it so it's not bothering you anymore, go for it. The first step is to accurately describe the problem. And I put in parentheses, get help if needed with this, because making sure you understand the true nature of the problem is very important for starting out doing problem solving. And for example, if you think that someone is negatively affecting you and you frame it in a certain way, like they're always like this, it may be that someone else could help you to understand with more clarity the situation of, well, actually what they did was they said this to you in this situation, and you can get more clarity that'll help you understand the problem better, and then you'll come up with better solutions. So describing accurately is key, and if you're finding yourself getting a little lost on this, get help from a therapist or a friend or anyone who can help you. Once you have accurately described the problem, then you identify your goal in solving the problem, being realistic with that goal. So you don't want to come up with a goal that really has no chance of happening in reality. You want to find a goal that can be met and that would satisfy enough of your needs. The third step is to brainstorm lots of solutions, and this is a critical step. The idea with brainstorming is to think of anything you can, even if it's wild and seems a little out of the ordinary. When you're brainstorming, you want to let your mind fully open to possibilities and get them all down. Don't strike anything off to start. You can also have others help you brainstorm, really bring in other ideas, talk to a therapist, talk to friends. What could I do in this situation to get as many ideas as possible? This is a key creative step that generates all these possible solutions and can bring a sense of hope to a sometimes situation where you feel quite stuck. The fourth step is to choose a solution to try. And you just take your best stab at one that seems likely to work and likely to help you. Then you take action, try to do it, see what happens. And finally, you evaluate the results. If it worked, then great. And if it didn't, go back to number 3 of brainstorming and number 4 of choosing a solution. The idea with problem solving is that it's quite hopeful that you never give up. You just keep going back and brainstorming and getting ideas from other people and trying new solutions for a problem. To give kind of a metaphorical example of this, if you're driving down a street and there's lots of potholes on that street and it keeps affecting your car and you have to go and do work on your car, you could think about options of, and then that's very distressing to you that you have to keep fixing your car and it costs a lot of money. You could describe the problem. Okay, I'm going down this street and it is full of potholes. You could, as an example of how you have to really get clear on the problem, perhaps the way you first describe the problem is, um, this whole town, every street is messed up and I keep having problems. But then when you talk to someone about it, they realize it's just this one street that has the problem of these potholes. And so then you start to think of your goal, well, to not have my car be harmed, brainstorm some solutions. I could take this street. I could take a different street. I could make sure to go around the potholes and go very slow on the street if I really need to take that one. I could go to the government and petition for them to fix the potholes. All these are possible solutions. You pick the one that's best for you. Okay, I'll just take the next street over. You take the next street over, you never have an issue with the pothole again, and everything's better. So this is a very powerful skill, and I hope that you all practice it as part of practicing all of these skills to respond to your experience.